Well, yeah, yeah, true. Evaluator.
You gotta sit up front.
Yeah. Coming to evaluate her. Yeah.
Couldn't see her. Did your alarm ring and you were like, oh, I got to
go there.
We have time for your report.
We'll do two.
It's fall break. Right? Yeah, right? Says all the
Monday,
time.
what else is there to do?
Hey, see how everything's been going? What everybody's up to?
Nothing better to do on a Monday.
Yeah, hey, what else am I going to do on Monday?
Well, the fall breaks are interesting because like everybody's kind of around.
Connor, are you on the fall break?
Yeah,
The whole week?
no, just 2 days, so today and tomorrow.
Yeah, that's not
Stinks how everybody's is so,
Exactly.
yeah. Because I mean, shoot, I'd be hanging out with the guys if anybody was around on a Monday night.
Now we just said he didn't want to meet with us. Yeah.
No, hey, this is a great second shift.
Yeah, after the meeting, yeah.
I think Harper's flying home tonight.
He had an exam.
Yes.
Yeah, God.
My cousin was trying to figure, I ran into her at a visitation last night, and she was trying to figure out how to get her to New York City. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's just nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, I'll be catching something.
Yeah. No, no worries. I heard that.
I'd like to call to order the Lowell Area Schools Board of Education meeting for October 13th at 7 p.m. If you could please all stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Additions or changes to the agenda?
We have none tonight?
Thank you. Public comments on agenda items?
None tonight.
Wonderful. Our first order of business is our student council report, and we are welcoming our new student representative, Jean Gates-Dupree.
The first trimester is starting to go by quickly. We are starting to wrap up our fall sports and celebrate senior nights, which means we're almost a third of the way through our school year. Over the past few weeks, several events have taken place at LHS. We just finished up our Pink Arrow food drive and celebrated with a tailgate Friday morning featuring Wood TV8. All of the proceeds will be kept in our community and sent to prom. Sorry. The Pink Arrow game day was quite busy, from morning news to school assemblies and the game. Athletes were all on the move. The week after Pink Arrow, it was time for our senior students to take a look at college applications, which opened up October 1st. With free applications beginning this month, students have had some work to do on Common App, finishing up all of their application info, getting out those essays, and applying for the scholarships. Students are also looking forward to their fall break this upcoming Monday to take a deep breath and work on some of those college applications. Better do that at the end of this month. Along with College Application Week, we just opened up our student signups for AP testing that will happen in the spring. This year, we have an increased amount in the number of students interested in taking our AP courses at the high school. Another event we had more student entrances was our homecoming dance. This year, more students participated in our Spirit Week and at our school assembly. The assembly was filled with games that the students and staff were all able to participate in, and a homecoming routine prepared and performed by our varsity cheer team. After the school day was over, we had a parade in which many clubs participated and showed off their school spirit. Once it was game time, students made their way to our football game to support our team. During halftime, we had an amazing performance by our band and then announced our homecoming king and queen. We ended our game with a final score of 56-0. On the topic of sports, our school's unified team has just started their practicing during flex time for their upcoming unified soccer game, November 4th. Thank you all so much for your time and attention. This has been your student report for October 13th, 2025. Your student representative, Gianna Gates-Dupree.
Thank you. Next order of business is our consent grouping. This is the approval of minutes for September 8th and 22nd. It also covers approval of minutes, payment of bills, and new hires. Can I get a motion to bring this item to order?
So,
Moved by Jessica, second. Could I get support?
Support.
Support by Jared.
So the regular business of the board with approving minutes, payment of bills. We also have two new hires. Brittany Germain, who's a speech language pathologist working at Bushnell with some of our GSRP students. And then Andrew Stuckety, who's here, middle school principal, just started week number 4 on the job. So it's been a really good transition. Difficult timing once routines were established, but he's done a really nice job with settling into that role.
Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our next order of business is our action items. We have 4 tonight. Our first action item is overnight student trips. Could I get a motion to bring the student trip to discussion?
So moved.
Moved by Jen. Could I get support?
I'll support.
Support by Annie.
Yeah, so some regular trips that we see annually. We've got the National FFA Convention in October, which is in Indianapolis. The State FFA Convention in East Lansing, which is in March. The baseball team takes an annual trip to spring break in Clearwater, Florida, so that's on here as well. And then the trip that we saw at the September workshop, they'd like to start recruiting for summer of 2027 trip to Costa Rica. So, good question before the board meeting. There was a typo on the application for that, for the cost. The cost in the itinerary is the accurate cost, and so that would be the one that would be published to families.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the overnight student trips as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next order of business is a gift to the district. The following gift is presented for formal board acceptance. The recommendation is that the Board of Education accept the following gift as presented: Michigan Hometown Furniture and Impact Church updated the 8th grade workroom at the middle school in honor of Darla Palmer. Could I get a motion to bring this item to order?
I'll support.
Moved by Jessica.
I'll support.
Yeah. Sorry, I got a
Support
pen
by
problem over here.
Jen. Discussion.
Sure. I just have to get you some pictures. It's really, a space which would have hard chairs and hard seats like the boardroom, and added some seating with couch, chair, and just some wall decor and vases. Just really softened up that space, and it is a nice tribute to Darla and a great place for that 8th grade team to gather. And so just appreciate these people in our community who came together to make this donation.
Do you know, is there a plaque or anything that's in that,
It does have a
in memory or
Yeah.
something? Very nice.
And would you be able to check on that?
well, just kind of the
How,
it's
yeah, how
broken
all
down.
the pieces and parts are broken down on
Yep,
that?
yep.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of acceptance of the donation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next order of business is a mower purchase. Recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the purchase of a 2025 Laser DZ diesel mower from Wolf Kubota utilizing the Omni Consortium contract for $66,795 as presented. Could I get a motion to bring this item to order?
So moved.
Motion by Pat. Could I get support? Support. Support by Jared. Mr. Feller.
So shared information about this mower at the September workshop as well. I do have a little bit more information about that. I learned that, during peak mowing season, we spend about 52 weeks per week on mowers mowing. The idea is that with the wings and the 12-foot deck, that we cut about 30 to 40% off of that time. And in addition to saving the labor, it's just the time and the wear on that engine as well. So like over time, I think we'd be able to reduce the number of mowers that we have as well by utilizing that bigger mower. So still would be evaluating just what the next updates would look like with that purchase. We do have some information to study at the workshop about the fleet of vehicles, about the fleet of other equipment that we have as well. The other thing that was nice about this mower is that it would fit on our current trailer that we use as well, so we'll be able to get it to Murray Lake, Alto, some of the other sites across the district where we do have large areas to mow.
It's been quite a while since we purchased a mower. I remember we were talking about it.
Yeah, I don't have the dates of purchase. I know that, you know, it's anywhere from about 1,500 to 2,500 hours that the mowers have on them currently, and that the welds that we've made to hold them together are starting to break.
Got it.
So it's time.
Did you say they spend 52 hours a week mowing?
Yep.
During mowing season?
We were talking.
Concluded.
That's a lot.
We were talking prior that this was contingent on, the formal budget coming through, so now we are
Correct.
at a point where we can
Yep.
leverage
Yep.
the financials.
Yeah, so, that was part of that conversation. Would this be brought to the board in October, brought in November, but with the approval and passage of the budget, feel comfortable bringing this?
Perfect. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the purchase of the mower deck as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next order item to bring forward is the Cherry Creek Elementary Fire Alarm, Access Control, and Video Surveillance System. Recommendation is that the Board of Education authorize Owen Ames Kimball to issue a notice of pending awards in the amount indicated to the contractors and suppliers listed below, pending confirmation that all requirements of the contract documents have been met. Furthermore, upon receipt by Owens Ames Kimball Company of the appropriate documentation, a contract be awarded to this contractor by Lowell area schools. The recommendation: fire alarm by Riverside Fire and Security LLC for $180,223. Access control and intercom entry system, LaForce LC at $261,340. Could I get a motion to bring this item to order?
So moved.
Motion by Jen. Could I get support?
I'll support.
Support by Amy.
So, if you remember when we approved the Cherry Creek bids at the September meeting, of the 40 categories, there were 2 that we did not have bids. And so, at that time, the bid window had been reopened. We got 2 bids for each of those categories. So the fire alarm category, the access control category. The estimated costs of those categories, one of these bids came in under, one came in over. It was a net about $40,000 over the estimates, but if you take the totality of the 40 bid categories, we're still projected to be under budget for the Cherry Creek project. Just going through this process so that we can get things rolling on these 2 other categories. It's still set for construction to start right around Christmas break.
Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the Cherry Creek Elementary Fire Alarm System as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next order of business is our information session. First, information sharing, human resource update. Mr. Chat.
Yeah, thank you. Couple items tonight. More recently, we were approached by Ada Village Pharmacy for free flu shots for our entire staff. So Nate and I worked with the nurses and we set up a system to where each building would have a morning before school where the staff can go and have their free flu shot prior to the start of school. So we were able to set that up for everybody district-wide. If they wanted a flu shot, they have that opportunity to do it before school, and it won't interfere with their workday. So that was nice of Ada Village Pharmacy to set that up, the nurses to set up that time, and have each building and area of our district have a block. So that was the first thing I wanted to bring up. The second, in regards to the medical piece, I mentioned this before, but open enrollment will be the first 2 weeks in November, so we're spending a lot of time right now with all the different groups and units in our district, getting them the information that they need to see any types of changes in plans, effects in prescription plans, and then also some prescription plans, depending on the group, not existing anymore, so having to replace that. Specifically, I've been working with the LEA union president, and they were able to find a plan that we can put in lieu of that, and we'll have the information ready to go so they understand everything that entails prior to open enrollment. And during an open enrollment, there's 2 dates where the MESA rep comes in and actually speaks to our LEA staff, and then there's 1 date for our LESPA staff where they're able to come in as well. I'm working on a second one for them as well. So anything informational wise, or any questions they have, they are answered, whether they come to open enrollment or they're reaching out to Allison or myself. We're taking care of it or getting them in the right direction. Also, while having to replace a curriculum and technology administrative assistant at central office, we revamped the job posting a little bit to go back to something we had looked at before COVID, and we came up with a central enrollment and instructional technology administrative assistant. I know it's a long title, but really what that does for our district is it will house the new individual at Lowell Middle School in our actual tech office, and then they will manage district-wide student enrollment. They'll serve as the primary point of contact and support for Infinite Campus Student Information System. They will coordinate technology-related onboarding process for all new staff, current staff. As I said, continue to manage Infinite Campus is a really big one. And then also provide ongoing administrative support for instructional technology initiatives and department operations. There's much more, but those are 4 of the bigger ones. And we also expect this individual to provide customer service to students, parents, and staff by still supporting the Director of Teaching and Learning, which that position always did, but now they'll be working with our Director of Technology and then our instructional tech department over at the middle school. So that's where the time will be spent, even though they will be under the Director of Teaching, I always want to say curriculum, Director of Teaching and Learning, but we'll be working in 2 different places and being across the district, and also working alongside Julie Pelletier, who's our Julie Wasick. We're having a good night here. Sorry, Julie, who is our instructional tech over there. So we had a final round interview tonight, so hopefully we are able to bring somebody to you very soon and transition that position over there. And then the last piece, with the recent hires that you heard about tonight, and then the anticipation of 1 mid-year retirement, as well as the confirmed 1 mid-year retirement that we already have. We've been trying to work with universities and colleges to deliver job descriptions, postings, and trying to pull from that 1st December graduating class who are in teaching and learning and these positions that we're looking for, and trying to push that out. And each college and university is a little bit different, but they have some really great ways to promote jobs and positions, and it's really been nice, and it actually helped in one of the 2 positions that Nate referenced tonight, and we'll continue to do that along with Applet Tracker System, Lowell Area Schools Facebook, the individual Facebook sites, the buildings, and so forth. But that was kind of the newest piece, working with the universities and colleges, and they're more than happy to always help. And it really aids the students too, because they're coming fresh off graduation and they're looking for jobs, and it's just been a great working relationship. So I've been able to talk to around 5 or 6 altogether, and I keep sending emails, because, you know, there's quite a few more in Michigan with teaching programs, but I'd like to hit all of them before the end of the year and just build that connection, so when I post a job, I can shoot it out on their Facebook as well, and they have other avenues to push out to, so. Yeah, that's all I have tonight.
Any questions? Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Our next information update is our budget update. Ms. Hatch.
I have a few pages for you that I passed out. We'll start on the top. On this page, you've seen a pared down version of this in the spring when we first got the initial budget proposals from the state. So I've expanded it a little bit since we have so much more information now. There are 3 boxes. The top one is revenue. The middle one are net zero items, so the revenues and the expenditures will match. There will not be a bottom line impact. And then the bottom box is for retirement expenses. My goal with this sheet is really to look at the impact of the state budget just in the funding items that they have in their budget, not the entire LAS budget. So we're really just looking at the state budget in this. And then because the retirement expenses are set by the state, I've included them in there because those are really important to factor in when we're talking about revenue changes for the year, because the amount we pay into the pension system can really offset a lot of that, which it does this year. So at the top, we've got our foundation allowance. This is our per pupil amount that we get for each student, and that is made up of our local property taxes and state aid that we receive every month. So I'm planning for about 25 fewer students this year than we had last year, but count is still being finalized, so we'll get those numbers in the coming weeks. Because it looks like we'll be down, I am including enrollment stabilization funding, estimating about $75,000. It will really depend on how that's prorated at the state level. But that's the proration that they had last year. You'll notice that in the columns, we have last year actuals, June's budget, and then the actual state budget from October. So you can see for the enrollment stabilization, I didn't include that money in our June budget because there was no way to know if it was actually going to be in the budget. I didn't want to plan for it. So I'm happy to see that that is in there because we didn't need it last year, we won't need it this year. Underneath your foundation allowance section in the revenue box is all of our MIPSers funding. We have 5 different types that we received. The first one was a surprise elimination. We weren't expecting that one, but that one has come out for $252,335. The second one is maintained in the budget. We'll know our actual allocation probably in December. The next one, the 147A4 for 1.27 million, we knew that was coming out. That was not a surprise. That was what we received last year in lieu of a foundation allowance increase. And then the next one is maintained as well. That one is incredibly variable. So I have a very round number in there because that's really the best I can do until we get, really to August is when we get our actual allocation. So we have a ways to go on that one. The last one, I've combined what we received last year, which was 147G, with what they are calling it this year, which is 27L, but it really is the same thing, so I put them together. I was planning to get about $200,000 to add to the bottom line next year, but it looks like it will be closer to $320,000, so that's a positive for sure. But our net on the retirement type funding is a decrease of almost $1.2 million. So when you compare that to the increase in foundational allowance of almost $1.4 million, we're getting an increase of $214,000 for the school year. You'll notice there are a couple boxes in green, and the green boxes up at the top, and then there's another one in the expenses section. Those are what you're going to see in the press release. I wanted to highlight those, not to say that this is a terrible budget or anything like that, but more to highlight that there's nuance. You can't fit an entire budget in a press release. It's not possible. But they're going to talk about the areas where we've added, where things are being increased. But there's a lot more that goes into it than just those things. So I wanted to highlight that there's a lot going on. Just, I mean, people out there, you can't see it, but there's a lot happening here, and this is just a handful of the items. In the middle box, those are all changes that won't have an impact to the bottom line, except that if grants are being eliminated, those expenses either need to be eliminated or picked up by the general fund. I'm not gonna go into all of that right now, but I will highlight that the at-risk funding is being increased by 25% at the statewide level. However, our numbers are showing that we'll have a very nominal increase to our allocation. The estimate we received from the state was about 17,000, which was less than 2%. So it's not an even 25% across the board. Partially, that is determined by the amount of free and reduced lunch forms that are approved in the district. With free meals, it's less common for folks to turn in those forms because they're already going to be getting free meals, which is completely understandable. We would love to see a different method to determine how we get at-risk funding. The mental health and security funding is increased for next year. There is a clause in the state's budget saying that it's over 2 years. We already get to use funding for 2 years, so I'm curious if that means that we're going to get half in 1 year and half in the next year, or if it's business as usual where we get the funding and we have 2 years to spend it. So we'll find out as more details come out. We are seeing one of our early literacy funding streams be reduced, eliminated. However, we can use at-risk funding for that. And our bilingual education funding is seeing an increase as well. For retirement expenses, this is where the nuance really kicks in. We've talked about how the retirement funding and the retirement expenses can really have a huge impact beyond that foundation allowance number. The 147.84, that up at the top, that $1.27 million that is going away this year, that is supposed to take over for the 5.75% decrease in the retirement rate. So last year they gave us this money and said, all right, here's what you're gonna get this year, but then next year we're gonna reduce your retirement rate that you pay. It'll be about the same thing. This year it's in revenue, next year it'll be a decrease in cost, which is fantastic because if we didn't have that, our retirement rate would have gone up significantly this year. So it really has helped offset the increases that we're seeing in other parts of the rate, because what we pay for the pension is made up of several different things. So you can see it is going down 5.75%, but other parts of the rate are going up. So I'm looking at our staff and the different plans that they're in, and it looks like for us it'll be about a 2.22% decrease in our retirement rate. So for every dollar we pay a staff member, we'll pay about 2.22% less on that dollar to the state for retirement, hopefully. I've put together some numbers in the bottom of that box to try to quantify what that means. If I apply that percentage to last year's wages, it's one number. If I apply it to what I'm expecting wages to be this year, it's a completely different number because wages go up. Based on our very healthy fund balance, higher than we would normally want, we gave much higher increases this year. So that savings gets eaten away by that. What I did here in this decrease of $19,512 is that is just looking at the retirement expense of $7.3 million in the state October column compared to the 24-25 actual retirement expense of $7.3 million. So a savings of $19 million. It's not taking into account any of the salaries.
19,000.
19,000, thank you. What did I say? Not 19 million. Okay. So we have a net change in revenue of $214,000 to the positive and a decrease in expenditures for retirement of $19,500, which brings us to a total impact to the bottom line of $233,931 estimated. I mean, it's a dart board, you know, that's way across the room. When I translate that to per pupil impact, we're getting $67 per kid this year. Very different from what you'll see, because you just can't possibly talk about all of this in one pager without me sitting here talking more than you want to hear about. Now, to confuse you even more, there's another page here that is a lot simpler to look at. And this is to illustrate that it really just depends on how you're looking at the numbers and how you're applying them. You can get a completely different number depending on what you're looking at. Your top section is for unrestricted funds, meaning money is sent to the district and we decide how we spend it. There are no restrictions on those funds. When I look at the changes from one year to the next, the change in funding is more like $250 per student. But that is looking at retirement based on 24, 25 wages. It really just depends on what your metric is that you're trying to compare to. So we can talk about things in very different ways and come up with different ways to illustrate it depending on what our frame of reference is. Really is a lot of the same information, just presented in a slightly different way. Those restricted funds on the bottom, those are the types that are in this middle box where they don't really impact the bottom line because they're either grant funds where your revenues have to match your expenditures, or they are retirement funds that come into the district as revenue and immediately we pay them back out to the state for the unfunded actuarial liability. So I know that that confuses things a little bit, but sometimes that's just how it works when you're trying to put things together in different ways. Part of my job is really to bring in as much information as I can, looking at it from different perspectives in different ways and putting it together in different ways, and that's really how I am able to understand it at the end of the day. So you can see I'm still trying to understand it. But we've had the budget for about a week now, almost a week, so we're getting there. I think she said we're about a third of the way through the school year and we now have a budget. Well, I'll pause there. Are there any questions? Obviously, there's going to be a lot more information put together. Once we get more guidance from the state, we'll be able to put it into a form where it's an actual budget for Lowell schools. But this is kind of how I am working through it at this point.
On that first page, your net change in revenue is this year's educated guess versus last year's actual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. All right. The next few pages I have are updates on the 24-25 budget, putting together final revenues and expenditures for general fund, food service, and the student activity fund. I realized just before I started talking that I was so focused on the state budget information. I did not actually update the amended budget column with what was approved in June, so just ignore that. I will update this again. So you can see the actual budget to actual, but the revenues and expenditures that are in there are accurate. So I will update that and send that out in the board update. So there wasn't much to talk about here other than these are our final numbers. Based on the March amended budget, we're pretty close. So once I get that updated, we'll see what that looks like.
On the audited actual, does that really, I mean, that's still a moving target? I mean, that's a substantial difference between the ending excess revenue or expenses. The audited actual 6/30/24 column versus the year-to-date actual 24/25.
Well, the audited actual from 6/30/24, that's fiscal year 23-24.
Okay,
total.
so it's the one before.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
That makes more sense.
Yeah,
That make-
yeah, I'm just trying to figure that out too. I see, that's a whole year ago.
Got it.
That's all I have.
Thank you. And thanks for the summary on the budget. It's nice to actually have a budget to summarize.
Yes.
Next order of business is our curriculum update. Mr. Dodd.
Well, we're almost halfway through the month of October, so just about 1 month from the end of our first trimester. So there's a lot going on around the district related to student learning.
We have parent-teacher conferences wrapping up at the elementary and middle school level this week. Our middle school leadership team is continuing to work toward a potential pilot program for Tier 2 intervention similar to that which we have in place at the high school with Flex Time. Goodrich High School will be on site at our high school on Thursday to review the Flex Time program and do some learning around how best to provide Tier 2 intervention at the secondary level. We've now had more than a dozen schools come out to review that program, Goodrich being the most recent. Our juniors will be taking the PSAT NMSQT at the high school on Wednesday this week. This is a great way for students to prepare for that SAT that they'll take in the spring. It's really good practice, but also it is the qualifier for the National Merit Scholarship Competition. That's the NMSQT part of that test. So all of our juniors will have the opportunity to participate in that and potentially move on to the National Merit Scholar Competition. We have 6 of our current seniors who earned recognition through that process who tested last year. Audrey Lackjaw, Cooper Byrne, Jarrett Smith, Kenton Cope all earned commended student recognition, placing them among the top 4% of students nationwide. Annika Hoon and Griffin Ponchad each achieved the distinction of National Merit semifinalist, placing them among the top 1% of students in Michigan and qualifying them to continue on in the National Merit Scholarship Competition for National Merit Scholar recognition. Our Curriculum Council met for the first time this year on October 2nd. This is the group that reviews all resource and program proposals before they come to the board. That group met and reviewed kind of their role and purpose. We had some conversation around the open court implementation at the elementary level, also revealed math. It looks like after that first meeting, there will be a proposal coming to the board here in the near future for an AP biology textbook. Our AP biology text is around 11 years old. The College Board recommends that we provide a textbook that is not more than 10 years old. So it's time to review that and replace that textbook. We have a new teacher this year in that program. Erin Lewis is teaching AP Biology, so it's a good time for that review. She will be piloting a textbook through the electronic version this month, and I expect that will be coming to the board later on, probably end of the first trimester, beginning of the second trimester. Our elementary buildings are looking to pilot a 3rd grade social studies program called Social Studies Alive. This is the program that's already in place at the 4th and 5th grade level. They've just now developed the 3rd grade program, and so it makes sense that we would look at that. So that will happen this year, and then there may be more information potentially coming to the board prior to the end of this year, but probably more 3rd trimester around that potential proposal. Our K-12 math vertical team met for the first time this year on October 6th. The purpose of the vertical team is to make sure that we have good alignment at K-12 around our goal areas of all students will be proficient in reading, all students will be proficient in math, and all students will report a positive sense of belonging. So this was the first meeting for that math group. They reviewed their plans developed and talked about further implementation this year at the building level. So they'll come back again to report out on how we're doing later on as the year goes on. Quick technology update. The majority of our Novell migration is now complete. So that's been a huge undertaking. I've mentioned it in the previous board reports. We finished our last major project in that migration last week with the migration of the servers that support printing across the district. And so the technology department will now turn toward just kind of fine tuning and making sure that all things are working as they should in that new network environment. But a lot of work on the part of our technology team, and they're pretty excited to have that migration now, for the most part, complete with the major projects. There has been a lot of discussion around libraries and library services over the past several years, much of it through social media. In my experience, social media is not a great way to get clear and accurate information. So we have started providing our buildings with information that they can include in their monthly newsletters related to our library program, just to make sure that we have clear and accurate information out there about how our libraries are run and the policies related to them. Most of the information that we will provide is already available on our website, but this will be kind of in smaller chunks that's easier to access rather than in large documents or FAQs. And then just as a reminder, anyone who has concerns or questions related to any of our programs, you are encouraged to reach out to the buildings where your students attend. and we're always happy to work with families and answer any questions as they present. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none. Next order of business, public comments.
We have 5 tonight. Kim Lum.
Just a reminder, if we do have some new people presenting, there is a 3-minute timer that is to my right towards the clock.
Hi, Kim Long, 4129 Causeway Drive. Today is Columbus Day. I prefer that we remember it as Indigenous People Day. But as a little girl in 1962, in 2nd grade, I remember learning, you know, that poem, Columbus sailed ocean blue, blah, 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 blah. And then as an elementary teacher in 78 or so, I taught my kids that. We made choral readings, we did artwork, we did all that stuff. But then later on, we didn't do that anymore. We talked about the people that were here first, and that some explorers came along and thought they had found a new place that no one knew of. And we talked about it wasn't theirs, and that they changed it on those people. I think that it's real, I mean, I've had different people say to me, you know, some family members, they don't have school today where they live, and for what? Because it's, you know, Indigenous People Day, or because it's Columbus Day, whatever. All I could think about as I've pondered this all day long is, do the best you can until you know better, and then do better. So one of your charges as our board is to figure out how you're gonna help the teachers of social studies and all the different things that we teach learn what the better is. Because it isn't just really, it's not supposed to be a staff member's personal beliefs. It's supposed to come from somewhere else. So that's my charge to you today. I think it's really important as we look across our district and our community about all the different people that are here today, and try to think about all the different people that were here before. And I used to teach my kids in school about, you know, Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims and all that, and we would talk about why people came. Why did they leave where they were and come here? And one of the biggest things I would tell those kids is, it's because they wanted to have choices. The people that left wanted to have choices. This king was telling these people, you have to go to my church. And I would say to the kids in my room, you know, I don't see you where I am on Sunday. You get to make choices that your family chooses. And it means that you do whatever your family thinks is the thing to do. So it all wraps up into the differences of all of us. And it's really important to me that we continue to figure out that fine line that we can travel, especially in 2025, 26, about how we do that. Thank you.
David Martin. David Martin.
Thank you, David Martin on Snow Avenue, and I also wanted to say happy Columbus Day. My address is to the board and also to the audience, and I am speaking about a Supreme Court decision in June of 2025 in a case titled Mahmoud versus Taylor. I would expect that the board is familiar with it. I don't expect that the audience is necessarily. Briefly, a Maryland school district used certain textbooks in a classroom without allowing parents to opt their children out of those classes. As happens frequently these days, the books promoted LGBTQ lifestyles which opposed Islamic teachings. Therefore, an Islamic family sued the school district for infringement on their religious rights. The school district argued that mandating these books was necessary to promote inclusivity of thought and behavior. The school stated that parents could simply send students to private schools if they wanted to opt out of such teachings. Notably, one school board member called the Islamic parents white supremacists. That just goes to show how far an elitist will go to protect their power. However, in ruling for the parents, the Supreme Court affirmed the family's religious rights overrides that of the school. The court wrote, quote, "We reject the chilling vision of the power of the state to strip away the critical right of a parents to guide the religious development of their children. Schools now must inform and allow parents to pull students from classrooms to avoid content conflicting with their religious beliefs." So, to you parents out there, it is now your firm right to investigate curriculum and pull students out of any lessons that conflict with your religious beliefs. And this pertains to every single lesson in every single class, every single day of the year. It is also your responsibility to monitor the Michigan Board of Education. Believe it or not, just 2 months after the Supreme Court decision, they have proposed to circumvent current state law by eliminating sex education opt-out. Why would a state board propose a standard that is in direct conflict with the established Michigan law and the U.S. Supreme Court? Well, remember how tightly elites cling to their power? That's the answer. And do you think they would worry whether or not they trample on your religious rights if they trample on the U.S. Supreme Court? I think not. So parents, stay vigilant. Demand to know what is being taught to your children. It is your right and your responsibility. And to the board, please stick to education. Simple education, not indoctrination. Thank you.
Brandy Bledsoe.
Brandy Bledsoe, Lincoln Lake Avenue Northeast. I'm just here to give you an update on LifeWise from last week. We started our first, we had our first day of class last Wednesday, and it wasn't without hiccup, but God's Spirit was present, providing us with peace and joy, calm and kindness in a way that only the Creator of the universe can provide, and it was perfect. For classes, for future classes, if all goes to plan, we will have 25 minutes per class. Last week we had only 12, and the kids were still eating lunch, so it was a challenge to say the least. But we managed, and the kids warmed up to us, and all 9 of them actually were able to participate, and it was wonderful. As we left the church, the kids were talking excitedly about the next class, and I heard one of them say, "I could get used to this." And I thought, awesome, me too. And so the ride back to Cherry Creek is about 6 minutes long, and believe it or not, you can get a lot accomplished in six minutes. So we actually did some review questions, such as who wrote the Bible, how long was Jesus alive, or excuse me, how long has Jesus been alive, how much does God know, what we can learn from the Bible, and who is the Word of God. And to my surprise, the information that was taught in that short 12-minute period was retained, and the kids knew the answer to every single one of the questions. They were very excitedly answering the questions, and which is surprising because at that age I would not have been paying attention. I would have been eating my lunch, so I was very proud of them. But needless to say, your local LifeWise team is very excited to continue this program every Wednesday for the foreseeable future with the 5th graders and beyond. And if you have any questions, of course, about LifeWise, about Jesus, or any of the questions that I actually asked today, if you'd like to know the answer to them, you can email me at brandybledsoe@lifewise.org. Thank you very much. See you next month.
Thank you.
Stephanie Boone.
Stephanie Boone, 2205 Knoll Point Drive in Ada. And I want to talk about a messaging problem that Lowell area schools seems to have. You know, because the words that Lowell is presenting do not match the actions in many cases. One of the main things that I've seen is in the messaging that comes across on social media, on press releases, public statements, news articles and interviews. And it gives Lowell an opportunity to have the voice, right? You can say whatever you want, and you expect the community to just believe that. So if you go out there and you put a message out there about the libraries and feed information to the schools to present in newsletters, you're gonna have people who will believe just because they trust, right? But when you start digging in and you look at, do the actions match the words, that's when we start scratching our heads. There is a publication that has been out there recently about a November 18 meeting for parents to learn how to give guidance to our children for online safety and setting boundaries for our kids. If we're so concerned about the online safety and boundaries for our kids online in Lowell area schools, why are we promoting sexually explicit books with adult content in them that are very concerning? Christian parents have a right to opt their children out of that material, but how can we do that if we don't know? There was a federal court decision in Llano County, Florida in October that gave it pretty clear guidance that schools can take books out of the libraries, and that is not banning books. No book has been banned across the history of the United States. Just to take a book out of the schools just means it's available somewhere else, but maybe not in Lowell area schools. That's not banning. There are books that are not appropriate for kids. So we need to think about that. Think about the messaging that we're giving. Why is it okay for 2 staff members to take books out of the library for their own opinion, but when a concerned parent has a problem with that, then that's somehow book banning? So the messaging is important. Mixed messaging is even more important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean Eschroff.
Sean Eschroff. For those people that they talk about the mixed messaging, they need to read Matthew 5 in the Bible. But I'm trying to think about saying that a lot of people say history repeats itself. I don't believe that. I think history rhymes. I was born in the country of Iran, and I'm a member of the Baha'i faith, and they're being persecuted. 2 of my family members, they faced firing squad because they refused to say that they were not Baha'is. They wanted to say, if you become Muslim, we give you your property back. And I'm not saying anything about Islam because there are a lot of valid things in Islam. But they faced firing squad. America has never faced fascism in 250 years. We have faced wars, we have faced civil war, but none of you are familiar with fascism. And fascism is here. It's already here, gradually taking roots. What Ayatollah Khomeini did to establish Islamic Republic of Iran, the current people, they want to establish Christian Republic of America. So, congratulations on the lawsuit that you won, but this should have been done a year ago, long time ago. And this would repeat itself. I urge you to fight offensively. Put a group together because there's going to be another one. You need to evaluate your risk. When the next one comes, I'll be happy to take care of the legal fees on this. Personally, I'll pay for the lawyers because we are in deep trouble. You need to put a group of friends of Lowell School because the next wave will come. These people will not give up. This is like a virus that's keeping multiplying. And I have faced that. I've seen it in many different countries. I just came back from Turkey. I've dealt with a lot of refugees that they're coming from Afghanistan and from Iran. And even the country of Turkey, is having some issues. So this is taking hold in this country, and we need to be all aware. Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business is our superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, and thank you for public comment tonight. There was a lot there and a lot to unpack, and so I think I'm going to pass on responding to public comment tonight just because there was a lot to that, but just appreciate seeing the democratic process and people being able to express their First Amendment rights and their open meeting rights and presenting different viewpoints and different opinions during that open forum at that podium tonight. So that was what America, was why we have this time. So I do appreciate to be in America where people are able to express those thoughts and those, just to be able to express themselves at night. I do want to shift, and I do want to talk about some of our messaging and some of the positive things that have been happening and some of the challenges that we faced as well. As you came into the building tonight, you may have noticed that there was some new artwork on the wall. I want to thank Lowell Arts for, I also forgot to put the glasses on, but just want to thank Lowell Arts for, through one of their community-based programs, they've updated some of the paintings out there, and so there's some representations of each of our school buildings with that. So just another great community partner that we have, and another special partnership to make this a great place to live and work. Some talk about our libraries tonight. One thing that we haven't mentioned is just congratulations to our library program for receiving exemplary status from the School Libraries in 21st Century program through the Library of Michigan. It's a great recognition of the work that's gone into making that space one that supports learning. Also, like to remind voters that the Kent County Enhancement Millage is November 4th. Absentee ballots have been sent out. The vote is to renew and restore a 9 mil levy. Lowell Schools has used that to reduce class sizes in kindergarten, supported our literacy efforts, supports our technology program, our one-to-one Chromebook initiative. If you were at the high school this weekend after homecoming, you saw work on the track taking place all weekend. It took place today. Thank you to everyone who's been helped, or just, their patience and flexibility managing the delays of the track construction. Our weather window is on the verge of closing, and so teams worked on Saturday, worked all day Sunday to apply the final coat. And so also thank you to everybody for their flexibility for the homecoming festivities at the stadium, as well as just adjusting the parade route for construction here in town. Youth night was also Saturday, or on Friday at the football game. So just thank you everybody for the modifications to those events as we work to accommodate the construction progress. It was a great week last week with homecoming, and a lot of fun to see all the school spirit and display across the district. Also had the opportunity to visit a number of classrooms, and so a lot of engagement, a lot of learning, and a lot of excitement around our reading standards, around our history standards, around all of those things. Mr. Goff mentioned parent-teacher conferences. Our elementary principals are at the buildings tonight. We've already had high school conferences. Middle school conferences are this week. And it is important that we engage families to talk about student learning. And so that's what we've done, and that's what we continue to do. And parent-teacher conferences are a great way to highlight that and great way to celebrate that. So thank you. That's all I got.
Super, thank you. Next order of business, board communications. Jared.
Thank you for the school report. Thanks for the budget update and administrative updates. That's all I got.
Annie.
Yep, that's it for me.
Pat? No comment.
Jess.
All set.
Jeff.
Seriously.
All right, first, I got some really nice comments on the band uniforms and their homecoming debut, how great those look.
Thank you
So
for pointing
they-
that out. That was great.
They said that they looked excellent and really a big improvement over what we had. A couple weeks ago, I went to a finance boot camp for school board things, and you sit here and you listen to Sonia give us all these pages of paperwork, and you think, this is high level, I have no idea. I went to this boot camp and I sat there and thought, I know what that means, I know what that means. And I would like to thank you for the work you do. You don't know how lucky you are until you realize when other people, the information that they think is very difficult is basic stuff. So she had us well prepared. Thank you very much. And I would just like to remind parents, if you have questions about books that you would like restricted, just email Mrs. Beechler.
Thank you. I was just actually going to talk about the KISD mailers that we got in the mail, but you covered that. There were 2 mailers that did come out in the mail. One appeared to be from the Lowell School District. That was KISD actually customizing it to all the different districts because we have to have a majority, or KISD has to have a majority of vote in order for us to have participate in being the beneficiary of that millage. I urge you to look into it and remember to vote. I appreciate that. With that, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Moved by Jennifer. Could I get support? Support. Supported by Jared. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned at 7:59.